I built my empire after they all left me for dead. Now my brother, ex-fiancé, and aunt are threatening to use me for their share. Welcome, family. If this story touches your heart, show some love by subscribing and letting us know where you're watching from. Now let's go on with the story. The hospital fluorescent lights burned my eyes as I sat in that plastic chair, my phone clutched in my trembling hand. Mama had just coded for the second time that night, and I'd called everyone. My brother Ricardo, my fiancé Devin, Aunt Linda who raced me when Mama couldn't. The nurse kept asking if anyone was coming. They're on their way, I lied, checking my phone for the 100th time. Nothing. Devin's text from 3 hours ago still glowed on my screen. Babe, I'm at the studio. This deal is huge. Your mom will be fine. Ricardo hadn't even opened my messages. Aunt Linda sent back a single word, busy. I remember the exact moment I realized I was alone. Not just in that waiting room, but truly, devastatingly alone. The doctor came out at 2:47 a.m. and I had to make the decision by myself. Keep Mama on life support or let her go peacefully. She told me once, during one of her good days before the dementia took her completely, "Baby girl, when my time comes, don't let them keep me here suffering just because they're scared to let go." But they weren't even here to be scared. I signed the papers with shaking hands, held Mama's hand as she took her last breath, and something inside me cracked wide open. Not broke, cracked. Like when concrete splits and you can see down to the foundation underneath. What I saw there wasn't pretty, but it was real. The funeral was on a Tuesday. That's when they all showed up. Every single one of them, dressed in black, crying louder than anyone, acting like they'd been there all along. Mama's lawyer, Mr. Brooks, called the family meeting for exactly 1 week after we buried her. I'd spent those 7 days in a fog, barely eating, barely sleeping, just going through the motions of closing out her life. Her apartment, her bills, her belongings. I handled it all alone while everyone else posted tributes on social media about what an angel she was. Devin had moved back into our shared apartment like nothing happened. When I confronted him about missing Mama's death, he said, "Baby, I explained this. That producer only had that one night available. Your mother would have understood. She always supported my music career." I stared at him like I was seeing a stranger. Maybe I was. Ricardo showed up at Mr. Brooks's office in a new suit, smelling like expensive cologne. Aunt Linda brought her husband, Uncle Jerome, which seemed weird since Mama couldn't stand him. They all sat around that mahogany table like they were waiting for Christmas presents. Mr. Brooks cleared his throat. "Before we begin, I want to say that Mrs. Washington was very clear about her wishes. She updated this will 3 months ago, which some of you may not be aware of." I watched Ricardo's jaw tighten. He'd been asking Mama about her estate for years, ever since she bought that little house in the suburbs with her settlement money from the factory accident. "To my daughter," Mr. Brooks read, "I leave everything. My house, my savings, my insurance policy, and the contents of my safety deposit box. She is the only one who never asked me for anything. The only one who showed up." The silence was deafening. Then Ricardo exploded. "That's bullshit. I'm her son too. Where's my name?" "Let me finish," Mr. Brooks said calmly. "There's more." The safety deposit box revelation sent shockwaves through that office. Mr. Brooks continued reading as Ricardo fumed and Aunt Linda's face turned to stone. "In the box you'll find documentation of every loan, every dollar stolen from my purse, every forged check. I kept records. I kept everything." My hands went numb. Mama had known. All those times Ricardo borrowed money and never paid it back. The way Aunt Linda would guilt her into co-signing loans she could never afford. Devin's emergency credit card he'd convinced her to add him to. She documented it all with the precision of someone who knew exactly what she was dealing with. The total amount taken from Mrs. Washington over the past 15 years, Mr. Brooks adjusted his glasses, comes to approximately $247,000. She wanted her daughter to know the truth about who really abandoned whom. That lying, Ricardo started to rise from his chair. "Sit down," Mr. Brooks's voice cut like a knife. "Or I'll have security remove you. Your mother's wishes are legally binding, and I suggest you respect them in death since you couldn't bother to respect her in life." The shame should have registered on their faces. It didn't. I saw something else instead. Calculation. Like they were already planning their next move. Devon reached for my hand under the table. I pulled away. After everyone left, I sat alone with Mr. Brooks. She left you something else, he said, sliding a sealed envelope across the desk. Mama's handwriting, for my warrior daughter. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Baby girl, I'm sorry I couldn't protect you better when you were young. I was weak and I let these vultures circle us both. But I see you. I see your strength. You've been building something all these years while they've been tearing things down. Don't let them take what's yours. Not anymore. Love, Mama. I cried for the first time since she died. What none of them knew, what I'd kept secret for 3 years, was that I'd been building an empire in the shadows. While Devon was networking in studios that never produced anything, while Ricardo was scheming his way through life, while Aunt Linda was judging everyone's choices from her high horse, I was working. My online boutique started small, just vintage clothes I'd flip from thrift stores. I had an eye for it, could spot quality under decades of dust. But then I noticed a gap in the market. Young professional black women like me wanted affordable luxury that actually fit our bodies, our style, our lives. Not watered-down versions of what fashion magazines said we should want. I learned everything myself. Web design from YouTube tutorials at 2 a.m. SEO strategies from podcasts during my lunch breaks. I cold-called manufacturers, negotiated deals, built relationships. My apartment bedroom became a warehouse. Then I rented a small storage unit. Then a larger one. 6 months ago, I'd signed a lease on an actual warehouse space. Revenue was hitting $40,000 a month. I was weeks away from quitting my office job. But I hadn't told anyone because I knew what would happen. They'd all want a piece. They'd all suddenly have business ideas, or investment opportunities, or urgent emergencies that only my money could solve. The morning after the will reading, I received an email that changed everything. One of my designs had been featured by a major lifestyle influencer. I watched in real time as my website traffic exploded. Orders flooded in, hundreds then thousands. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing with notifications. By noon, I'd made more money than I'd made in the entire previous month. By evening, Devon was looking at my laptop over my shoulder, asking questions I'd dodged for years. Babe, what is all this? The jig was up. You've been running a whole business? Behind my back. Devon's voice had that edge to it, the one that used to make me scramble to explain myself. Not anymore. It's not behind your back if you never bothered to ask what I was doing, I said, closing my laptop. We were in the living room of the apartment we'd shared for 2 years. The apartment I'd been paying 70% of the rent for while he invested in his music career. How much are you making? There was. Not congratulations. Not pride. Just how much? Enough, I said carefully. Enough for what? Enough to keep secrets from your future husband. He moved closer and I could smell the cologne he couldn't afford but somehow always had. Babe, we're supposed to be a team. This is amazing. We could finally get that condo downtown I've been looking at. We could. We. The word tasted bitter in my mouth. His expression shifted, wounded innocence replacing calculation so smoothly I almost missed the transition. Almost. What's that supposed to mean? I'm your fiancé. What's yours is ours, right? That's how marriage works. I thought about Mama's funeral. The empty chair where he should have been. The text messages I'd sent him while she was dying. Please come. I need you. Read receipts showing he'd seen them, choosing his studio session over my devastation. Where were you when she died, Devon? Don't do this. Don't make me the bad guy because I was trying to secure our future. That producer could have changed everything for us. Did he? Silence. Did that producer sign you? Did that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity turn into anything at all? His jaw clenched. These things take time. You don't understand the industry. I understand that you weren't there when I needed you most. I understand that you've been about to blow up for 5 years while I've actually been building something real. So what, you made some money selling clothes online and now you think you're better than me? The conversation spiraled from there. Ricardo showed up at my warehouse 3 days later with a business proposal. I'd changed my address on all my business documents, but somehow he'd tracked me down. That should have been my first warning. Little sis, we need to talk about this empire you've been hiding. He walked around my space like he owned it, touching my inventory, examining my shipping station, making notes on his phone. This is impressive. Real impressive. What do you want, Ricardo? I want to help my baby sister. I want to invest in this. Take it to the next level. You know I've got connections, right? I know people who know people. We could franchise this thing, go national. I remembered being 7 years old, watching Ricardo sell the birthday bike Mama had saved up for months to buy me. He'd said he was just borrowing it to show a friend. I never saw it again. I don't need investors, I said. Everybody needs capital to scale. Look, I've been talking to some venture capitalists and they're interested. But they want to see a solid leadership team. Someone with business experience. He puffed up his chest. I've got an MBA now. Online but still legit. You finished it? He waved a hand dismissively. 6 credits short, but who's counting? Point is, I can bring legitimacy to this operation. All I'm asking for is a 30% stake. That's family discount right there. 30% of a business I built from nothing? Of Mama's money, he corrected, and there it was. The real reason for this visit. That inheritance should have been split between us. You know it. I know it. We could go to court about it, make this ugly, or we could be smart. Bring me on as a partner and I'll drop any claim to Mama's estate. Get out. His expression hardened. You're making a mistake. The mistake was letting you in here in the first place. Security. I called to Jerome. Yes, Uncle Jerome, the same one married to Aunt Linda. I'd hired him as my warehouse security guard 2 months ago when he told me in confidence that Linda was bleeding him dry. Funny how things work out. Ricardo's face went purple when Jerome walked in. You're working for her? Man's gotta eat, Jerome said simply. And unlike your aunt, this lady pays on time. That night, Ricardo sent a text to the family group chat. Y'all need to know what your precious princess is really up to. The war had officially begun. Aunt Linda scheduled a family meeting at her church, deliberately choosing a public space where she thought I couldn't make a scene. She'd always been strategic like that, using religion and respectability politics as weapons. I grew up watching her wield them against Mama, making her feel small for every mistake, every struggle, every imperfect choice. The meeting was set for Sunday after service. I arrived to find not just Ricardo and Aunt Linda but Devon too. They'd coordinated. The 3 of them sitting in the fellowship hall like some kind of tribunal. Baby, I'm so glad you came, Aunt Linda started, her voice dripping with false sweetness. We've been so worried about you. Grief can make us do irrational things, make bad decisions. What decisions would those be? I asked, staying standing while they sat. This business venture. This refusing to share your blessing with your family. Your Mama wouldn't want this division. She placed a hand over her heart. I raised that woman when she had nothing. I supported her through every hardship. And this is how her daughter repays me. Ricardo jumped in. We're not saying you don't deserve success. We're saying family should share in it. That's how we were raised. Really? Because I remember being raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs while her family drained her dry. I remember her crying over bills she couldn't pay because she'd loaned her last $100 to someone who swore they'd pay her back. I remember a lot of things clearly now. Devon tried a softer approach. Babe, nobody's attacking you. We just want what's fair. I've supported your dreams for years. Doesn't that count for something? Supported. The laugh that came out of me was sharp, bitter. You mean the rent I paid while you worked on your mixtape? The groceries I bought while you networked? The bills in my name because your credit was shot? That kind of support. I was building a foundation for our future. You were building nothing while I built everything. I turned back to Aunt Linda. And you want to talk about supporting Mama? Let's talk about the $20,000 loan you convinced her to co-sign when you knew she couldn't afford it. The loan that destroyed her credit and almost cost her the house. The loan you never made a single payment on. Aunt Linda's face went stiff. That was a difficult time. The economy was difficult for everyone, but only some of us defaulted and let others take the fall. I pulled out my phone where I'd photographed every document from Mama's safety deposit box. Want me to read the dates, the amounts, the apology letters you never sent? The room went dead silent. Ricardo recovered first. This is exactly the problem. You think having money makes you better than us. You think you're too good for your family now. No, I said quietly. I think I'm finally good enough for myself. There's a difference. That's when Aunt Linda played her final card. Then you leave me no choice. I'm contesting the will. That money rightfully belongs to the whole family, and I'll prove your mama wasn't in her right mind when she wrote you in. The dementia was diagnosed after she updated the will. Mr. Brooks has 3 doctors' evaluations confirming her competency. Try again. Her face transformed into something I'd never seen before. Pure rage. You ungrateful little. Everything I did for you for her, and this is how you repay me? You'll regret this. I walked out of that church with my head high, but my hands were shaking. The cease and desist letter arrived by courier on a Tuesday morning. Not just one, 3 separate envelopes. Ricardo was suing for his rightful share of the inheritance. Aunt Linda was suing to contest the will based on undue influence and Mama's mental state. Devin, my ex-fiancé as of 72 hours ago, was suing for partnership dissolution, claiming my business was built during our relationship and he deserved 50%. My lawyer, Sarah Wells, was furious. This is extortion. Pure and simple. They're banking on you settling out of fear or exhaustion. What are my chances if we go to court? For Ricardo and Linda? They don't have a case. The will is airtight, your mother's competency is documented, and there's zero evidence of undue influence. Devin's claim is more complicated, but you started your business before you two were engaged. You never commingled funds and there's no written partnership agreement. Still, he could drag this out, make it expensive and messy. I thought about the empire I'd built. The warehouse now employing 15 people. The contracts with major retailers I'd just signed. The expansion plans sitting on my desk. The women who depended on me for jobs, for products that made them feel beautiful and powerful. How much would settling cost me? I asked. Sarah named a figure that made my stomach drop. That's if you settle with all 3. Individually, Devin might take $50,000 to go away. Ricardo wants $100. Linda's asking for $200 plus a monthly allowance from your business profits. $400,000 total? Approximately. Plus my fees for handling the negotiations. I looked out my office window at the warehouse floor below. Hannah was training 2 new employees on the shipping software I'd developed. Maria was on a call with a supplier, negotiating better terms than I'd ever gotten. These women, these jobs, this community I'd built. It was worth fighting for. No, I said. We're not settling. Not 1 penny. Sarah smiled. Good. Because I was hoping you'd say that. Let's bury them. But that night someone threw a brick through my warehouse window. No note, no message needed. The threat was clear. Devin made sure the story went viral. He'd always had connections with local bloggers, people who ran gossip sites and community news pages. Within 48 hours, I was the villain in a story about a heartless daughter who abandoned her family after coming into money. The headlines made me sick. Local entrepreneur refuses to help family in need. Woman forgets her roots after finding success. Family left behind as boutique owner gets rich. They interviewed Ricardo, who cried on camera about how money changed her. They talked to Aunt Linda, who spoke about raising me like her own, only to be discarded. Devin gave a particularly painful interview about how I'd hidden my success and abandoned him when things got hard. None of them mentioned Mama's funeral, the loans, the stolen money, the years of emotional manipulation. Of course they didn't. My phone exploded with messages. Half were supportive from people who knew the real story. The other half were vicious attacks from people who believed the narrative Devin had spun. You should be ashamed. Family first always. Money can't buy class. My business started suffering. Not from legitimate customers but from coordinated attacks. Fake reviews claiming my products were poor quality. Chargebacks from phony orders. My website was DDoS attacked twice in 1 week. Someone even filed a false complaint with the Better Business Bureau. I wanted to fight back to tell my side, but Sarah advised against it. Don't engage. It'll only fuel the fire. Let them make noise while we build our case. But silence felt like surrender. Then something unexpected happened. A reporter from a major publication reached out. Not for a hit piece, for the truth. She'd started digging into Ricardo's background, Devon's financial history, Aunt Linda's lawsuits against other family members over the years. She'd found a pattern. I want to tell your story, she said during our phone call. The real one. But I need you to be completely honest with me. No sugarcoating, no omissions. Can you do that? I thought about Mama's letter. About being a warrior. About fighting back not with fists but with truth. Yes, I said. I can do that. The article that published 2 weeks later changed everything. The morning after the article published, I found Hannah crying in the warehouse bathroom. Hannah was my first hire, a single mother of 3 who'd been working 2 jobs when I brought her on full-time with benefits. She was usually unshakable. What's wrong? I asked, genuinely concerned. She looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. I need to tell you something and you're probably going to fire me. My stomach dropped. What happened? Your brother approached me 3 weeks ago. Offered me $5,000 to sabotage your inventory system. Said you owed him money and this was just him getting what was rightfully his. She wiped her eyes. I told him no, obviously, but I didn't tell you because I was scared. Scared he'd come after me, scared I'd make things worse for you. But after that article, after seeing what they're really like, I can't keep quiet anymore. I pulled her into a hug. You're not fired. You did the right thing telling me now. There's more, she whispered. He approached Maria too. And David in shipping. He's been trying to build a case that you're mismanaging the business, treating employees badly. He wanted us to lie in court statements. Rage burned through my veins, but I kept my voice steady. Did anyone take him up on it? No. Everyone here loves working for you. You pay fair, you treat us like humans, you've helped people through real hardships. Maria's son's medical bills? David's eviction crisis? You showed up. Your family never has. That afternoon I called an all-staff meeting. 15 employees gathered in the warehouse, looking nervous. I'd never called everyone together before. I need to be transparent with you about what's happening, I started. My family is suing me. They're trying to claim ownership of this business, of your jobs, of everything we've built together. They've been approaching some of you, trying to manipulate you into helping them. The room erupted in angry murmurs. I held up a hand. I'm telling you this because you deserve to know the truth. And because I need you to understand, if they win, this place changes. Your benefits might disappear. Your job security vanishes. Everything we've built as a team gets torn apart by people who care about nothing except what they can take. What do you need from us? Maria asked. The truth. If they approach you again, document everything. Record conversations if you can. Forward emails. We fight this with facts and evidence. Jerome stood up. Some of us have already been doing that. We got your back, boss. The solidarity in that room made my eyes sting. This was family. Real family. The kind you choose who choose you back. The day before the court hearing, Devon showed up at my apartment. Our old apartment. I'd moved out 2 months ago, but he somehow got past security in my new building. That should have terrified me. Instead, I felt nothing but cold determination. Babe, please. Can we just talk? He looked terrible, unshaven, eyes bloodshot, clothes rumpled. Part of me wanted to care. That part was getting smaller every day. You have 30 seconds before I call the police. I made a mistake. The lawsuit, the interviews, all of it. I was hurt, angry, not thinking clearly. But I love you. We can fix this. Drop the defenses against my claim and I'll drop everything. We can start over. Start over. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Devon, you chose a studio session over my mother's deathbed. You spent years draining my resources while contributing nothing. You sided with people actively trying to destroy me. What exactly would we be starting over with? I was there for you for years before all this. Were you? Really? Because I've been going through old photos, old texts, old memories. You know what I found? I was there for you. I supported your dreams, your schemes, your endless next big things. But when I needed support, when my mama was dying, when I was building something real, you were nowhere. His face crumpled. So that's it? 5 years together means nothing. It means I learned what love isn't supposed to look like. I moved toward the door, opening it. Goodbye, Devon. See you in court. He grabbed my arm. Not hard, not violent, but desperate. You've changed. You're not the woman I fell in love with. I looked at his hand on my arm, then up at his face. You're right. I'm not the woman who made herself small so you could feel big. I'm not the woman who apologized for having ambition. I'm not the woman who believed your potential was more important than my reality. That woman is dead. I killed her. And I'm not sorry. He let go like I'd burned him. After he left, I sat on my couch in my apartment paid for with my money, and finally let myself cry. Not for him, not for them. For the years I'd wasted. For the girl I'd been who thought love meant sacrifice instead of partnership. My phone buzzed. Sarah. Tomorrow morning 9 a.m. sharp. Dress professionally. Don't engage with them no matter what they say. We've got this. I looked around my apartment. At the life I'd built alone. At the success I'd earned through grinding, hustling, believing in myself when nobody else did. They thought they could take this from me? Let them try. Judge Morrison's courtroom was smaller than I expected, less dramatic than TV made it seem. But the tension was thick enough to choke on. Ricardo sat with his lawyer, expensive suit probably bought on credit. Aunt Linda was in her church finest, dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief. Devon was alone. His lawyer had apparently dropped him when he couldn't pay the retainer. Sarah had prepped me thoroughly. Don't react. Don't cry. Don't show anger. Stay calm, factual, unshakable. Let the evidence speak. Ricardo's lawyer went first, painting a picture of a grieving son denied his rightful inheritance by a manipulative sister. My client simply wants what's fair. What his mother would have wanted if she'd been in her right mind. Then came the documentation. Mr. Brooks presented the will, the medical evaluations, the timeline proving Mama's competency. He also presented something I hadn't known about, a video. Mama had recorded herself 3 weeks before updating her will, explaining her exact reasoning for every decision. Watching my mother on that screen, weak but clear-eyed, destroyed me. Ricardo will tell you he deserves my house, my money. He'll say family is everything. But family is what you make it, not what takes from you. My daughter showed up. Every day, every crisis, every moment I needed someone, she was there. That's family. That's who deserves my blessing. Ricardo's face went purple. His lawyer scrambled to object, but the video was admissible. Devastating. Aunt Linda's case collapsed even faster. Sarah presented bank records showing she'd contested 2 other family members' wills in the past, both times unsuccessfully, both times for money. She showed the loan documents, the defaulted payments, the pattern of financial abuse spanning decades. Your Honor, Sarah addressed Judge Morrison directly, this isn't about inheritance rights. This is about predators who've spent years bleeding my client's family dry and are now angry that the well has run dry. Devon's claim was almost sad by comparison. He couldn't produce a partnership agreement because none existed. He couldn't prove commingled funds because I'd kept everything separate. His best argument was, but we were engaged, which fell apart when Sarah showed texts from him dismissing my business as a little hobby and telling me to focus on real money, meaning his music career. The judge ruled before lunch. All 3 cases dismissed with prejudice. They couldn't even appeal. Outside the courthouse, Ricardo tried one last play. This isn't over. You hear me? This family thing. What family? I interrupted and my voice was steady, calm, free. Family shows up. Family supports. Family loves without conditions. You're strangers who share my blood. Nothing more. I walked away and didn't look back. The coffee shop on 5th Street became my morning ritual. I'd sit by the window with my laptop, checking inventory numbers and customer feedback before heading to the warehouse. The business had tripled since the lawsuit, partly from the publicity, mostly from the work. Jerome was now head of security with a full team under him. Hannah ran operations like she was born to it. Maria had started a mentorship program for young women wanting to learn e-commerce. We'd hired 30 more employees. Opened a second location. I'd been approached by investors, real ones this time, vetted and legitimate. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I opened it. It was from Ricardo's oldest daughter, Martha. I'd seen her twice in my life. My dad says you're evil. But I remember you visiting Grandma every week even when nobody else did. I'm starting college next year. Business major. Could I maybe ask you some questions sometime? I stared at that text for a long time, thinking about cycles and choices, about breaking chains and building bridges. This girl wasn't responsible for her father's sins. Maybe she didn't have to repeat them. Yes, I typed back. I'd like that. That evening I visited Mama's grave. I hadn't been since the funeral, couldn't bring myself to face the reality that she was really gone. But today felt right. I brought flowers, her favorites, yellow roses, and sat on the grass beside her headstone. I did it, Mama, I whispered. I built something real. Something good. Something that helps people and stands on its own. You'd be proud, I think. Or maybe you already knew I could do it. Maybe that's why you left everything to me. Not because I deserved the money, but because you knew I'd use it to build instead of destroy. The wind picked up, rustling through the trees, and I let myself imagine it was her answer. Her approval. Her love reaching across the veil between life and death. I'd lost a family and gained myself. Some would say that was tragedy. I say it was transformation. 3 months later, someone leaked security footage to TMZ. Devon trying to break into my warehouse at 3 a.m. He was arrested, charged, finally held accountable. Ricardo filed for bankruptcy after his wife left him and took the kids. Aunt Linda's church removed her from leadership when the financial abuse came to light. Karma didn't need my help. Came for them all the same. But I wasn't watching anymore. I was too busy building, growing, living the life I'd fought for. The empire I'd earned. The family I'd chosen. The peace I'd won. And every morning I woke up grateful not for what I'd lost, but for what I'd found. Myself. If this story touched you, hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs to hear that they're worth fighting for. Your worth isn't determined by who stays. It's proven by who you become when they leave. Stay strong, fam. You're not alone.